There is a land that lies 34 degrees north and 34 degrees south of the equator on the east coast of Africa. This land is home to many people. In fact, this land is thought to have been the cradle for mankind by the scientific community due to the many archaeological discoveries in the area. Much can be debated about the rich history and the interactions which through the ages have brought together Bantus, Nilotes, Arabs, Cushites, many people of African origin, and the European people to the land. But the most significant event which can be documented remains activities which took place at the end of the 19th century in Europe. In 1884, following the Berlin Conference, European nations set forth an agenda to partition Africa. They had a view to acquire resources and settle in the new land, in this episode dubbed as the Scrambled for Africa. The British partitioned a land and called it British East Africa after the Imperial British East African Company, a company which had been commissioned by the King of England to construct the railway from the port of Mombasa in the Indian Ocean to the Baganda Kingdom. Immediately, conflicts ensued as local indigenous inhabitants resisted the intrusion. The Nandi were active, and this also led to the death of their leader, Koitalel Arab Samoei. Due to their superior firepower, the British were soon able to subdue indigenous inhabitants, and they soon set forth into establishing a new colony, British East Africa Protectorate. The colonial period of occupation was harsh, repressive, and very punitive to the native population. The British government demarcated lands, named them White Highlands, and also through treaties effectively marginalized people into African reserves. New laws were also enacted that forced people to work for white-owned farms, as evidenced by the hard tax, and the Kipande system was implemented, which regulated movement. Surely, these were desperate and tough times, and many innocent people lost their lives.
Wir wollen nicht lieben, wollen nicht schwindeln. Ich habe es
Winds of fortune sometimes can stand in an instant, and sometimes out of calamity one can build hope. At about the same time the new colony was being established, war broke out in Europe, and the United Kingdom marshaled its resources in an effort to resist the Nazi aggression. African soldiers soon found themselves in the front lines of Burma, Europe, and various war theaters of World War II, and in no time the Axis powers comprising of Germany and Japan were defeated. So the Africa soldiers soon returned home. During the war, both the British and the Africans had fought the Axis power as one. And so when they returned to Africa, they could not accept the preferential treatment accorded to their comrades, and soon conflict ensued again. Now, unlike in the first time, these soldiers were seasoned in the ways of war. They knew how to fight and also how to make firearms. The names General Mwariama Field Marshal Dedem Kemadi and General China soon became household terror names to white settlers and collaborators as they led the dreaded Mau Mau freedom fighters. Many leaders became distinguished at this time. Now, as usual, the British were brutal in their methods. They tried screening, detention, but these two groups, the leaders and the freedom fighters, soon proved that they were determined, organized, and the only amicable solution was independence and self-governance. Through diplomatic efforts, international pressure, changing attitudes towards colonization, the British finally succumbed and they agreed to grant independence to the colony once known as British East Africa Protectorate. The date 12th December 1963 will remain etched in the memories of Kenyans as the day of liberation. This was the day we became a nation. Gone was colonial oppression, domination, and marginalization. This was a time of hope and a time to forget the pain of the past. And yet, through the celebrations, a rallying call was made to unite. And in the word of our first president, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, this was a time of Uhuru na kazi. Such was a call for nation building. "48 years have passed since that momentous day that Kenya gained independence. From those humble beginnings, Kenya is now a vibrant nation on the world stage. Nairobi, the capital city, is a budding metropolis which is currently adorned with skyscrapers to rival many cities in the Western world. The field of education, Kenya has established versatile primary, secondary, and tertiary institutions that continue to turn out a large educated population which continues to contribute immense knowledge to its growing and expanding economy. The government has also instituted a free education policy for primary students with a view of eradicating illiteracy in the country. But I think it's in economic development that Kenya has done relatively well. Today, brand names like Kimball, Ketepa, Mabati, Kenya Wine Agencies, Kenya Meat Commission, KBL, and Kenya Commercial Bank are scattered all over the East and Central African region, and some can be found in European and Asian markets, further solidifying Kenya's position as an economic powerhouse in the sub-Saharan region of Africa. In healthcare, the government continues to build new hospitals and dispensaries especially in the rural areas. This has continued to increase accessibility to healthcare for most of the population. New programs are constantly being implemented to eradicate preventable and communicable diseases. Tourism, a major foreign exchange earner since colonial times, in the days of African safari, which is a Swahili word meaning to travel, continue to be a major economic activity in the country. The pristine Kenya's beaches at the coast are unrivaled anywhere in the world. There is also an abundance of up country and inland getaways which showcase Kenya's rich wildlife and picturesque landscape that has provided holidays and vacations to royalty and commoners alike. Since independence, Kenya has built a large and extensive road network. These roads continue to be upgraded, and the present administration has undertaken a resurfacing and an expansion program. Currently, there is construction of bypasses, which are meant to alleviate urban congestion and to aid the smooth flow of traffic through the country. This, coupled with our airports, have created a strong network which presently have made Kenya, especially the towns of Nairobi, Kisumu, Eldoret, and Mombasa, the gateway to East and Central African region by providing connecting flights to various regions. Kenyans are strong and competitive people. They are active in all types of sports and recreation. The country's sportsmen and women are accomplished athletes who are known worldwide. From the very first time they stepped into the world stage, they have consistently performed strongly, and to this very day, most of their accomplishments have not been surpassed. In fact, the common thread is for one Kenyan to break another's record, and everybody knows for a fact that you never run next to a Kenyan. Much has been done, and yet more remains to be done. Currently, Kenya has a population which stands at about 40 million. country has a new constitutional dispensation with a devolved system of governance that addresses inequalities dating back to the colonial era. For the first time, the country also has an economic blueprint, Vision 2030, which is being used by the government in resource allocation and for planning purposes. This in an effort to turn Kenya into a middle-income country by the year 2030. On the international scene, Kenya is a member of the East Africa Community, a fast-growing economic and custom union, which may in the future become a political union. This is a beautiful country. It has so much potential and so much to offer. May God bless Kenya.
Hatutaki hata kamwe, lazima tuungane, tuijenge nchi yetu, pasiwe hata moja anayetenganisha. Naishi na tumaini, najitolea daima Kenya. Hakika ya bendera ni uthabiti wangu, nyeusi ya wananchi na nyekundu ni ya damu, kijani ni ya ardhi, nyeupe ya amani. Daima mimi Mkenya, mwananchi mzalendo. Kwa uchungu na mateso, kwa vilio na